It's 20 times. Because of this recession, on average, African Americans have 1/20th the wealth of white Americans. Across class, doesn't matter what class you're dealing with. I told you I was going to be sugar-free, I'm sorry. But I have no choice because we can't explain the Bridgeport public school system. We can't explain what Dr. Perry said about what he saw when he came up in here. It's not about someone not taking care of their own house. We can't explain why Bridgeport has the same kind of conditions that you have in South Central LA, how you have in Harlem. I mean, this is, when you see this whole system, you have to stop and wonder, oh, okay, this is bigger than Bridgeport. Okay, it's bigger than just teachers. Okay, don't hear me, a bad teacher will ruin your day, but it's bigger than teachers. So you have the housing circumstance, you have the job discrimination, and the housing segregation determines which schools your kids go to, which does a number of things because of the economics of it. All these accumulated resources of intergenerational privilege get sequestered in smaller suburban areas. Norwalk's a great example of that. And the accumulation of the disadvantages, the accumulation of how race works now, lands on the shoulders of black and brown families who are working just as hard as everybody else, but who don't get the results of that work in the same way. But because we're in a post-race moment, if you ask for a level playing field, it gets turned into a favor. You see what I'm saying? It gets turned into, well, you want racial privileges. No, I just want something back that y'all took before.
Exactly.
Oh, but that's over. That's then, not now. So the language, we have to figure out a set of strategies, which I'm going to get to later, but it's just an earmark. We have to figure out a set of strategies that are honest about this history so that we can genuinely solve the crisis. Black and brown children and families are 3 times more likely to live in poverty. 3 times. That's not the result of their parents' personal actions. That's the result of, what did I say before? Structural racism, big phrase. New circumstance, old circumstance. Really same thing, different day, but manifest in new ways. So how do we focus on transforming schools in the context of these broader, crucial circumstances that are both historical and contemporary, that happen in housing, that happen in education, that happen in incarceration, that happen in all of the web of conditions that everybody's facing? The first thing is to understand schools as a hub institution, as the hub of a community. That's why I focused on what happens with schools in relation to neighborhoods. We must end the funding of schools through local tax bases. It is a fundamental means by which legacies of inequality get manifest, passed forward. So if you have a bigger house and more tax money, you get a better education. It's just that straightforward. Now, many states have tried to fight this. Of course, communities also fight back. Those with additional resources don't want, say, open enrollment. Once you have open enrollment, what do you mostly fight? What you mostly do is end the segregation of ghettoization of black and brown people. It's not just school choice, like you get to go down the street to another all black and brown school that they also don't fund, that temporarily looks better than the one your kid's currently going to. Same issue. They just look newer and fresher, you know, and they look like, well, it's a smaller problem today. Tomorrow's going to be a big oak tree just like the one you got now. What ending that invisible band does is it means now we're talking open enrollment. Everybody has to work together and make choices, so you can't force the equality of housing segregation to educational segregation. But you know, this has been fought dramatically. Again, if I had a long all day to tell you, we could talk a long time around this investment in private property as a means by which to secure privilege. Okay, it's a long history of that. When you hear lots of talk about states' rights, and you hear lots and lots of talks about the private individual rights of citizens, that's a coded language for we don't want public responsibility and connectedness to all of the citizens of the United States. We want to stay with our own and hold the resources we always had.
That's right.
So the very first thing here is to end this process by which education is attached to current class status of individuals. Everybody has a right to excellent education. And when we're all in it together, we act differently about that problem. But what do? We say, but gee, these black and brown kids, they sure do got a problem. I don't know where it came from. People act all mystified. They act like they don't understand how it is that suburban all-white schools or small towns have been able to secure more resources, like it's somehow not connected. But you know very well, because you remember, this is right, the town that faced that story with Tanya McDowell. You remember this story about a year ago? And this is a woman who was homeless, who tried to send her child to a Norwalk school. She put on the address the couch of a friend she was sleeping on, who happened to live in Bridgeport. But because she sent her kid to a Norwalk school, they didn't just say, oh, hi, Miss McDowell, I'm sorry, you have to, you put down the couch of your friend, so you got to send your kid to Bridgeport. No, they put her in jail. And so this is not the only case. A major case in Ohio, same thing. This is part of a state response to target poor black and brown people from those who dare to break free of the structural ghettoization and the limited resources that they've been subscribed. So the first thing we have to do is recognize that we are living in a state of a moment in American history where we are